Okay, going over some hands from yesterday. We had a 3-bet in quite early position, so I decided not to 4-bet, but just call. The flop hits my range. It's actually quite close because would I call a 3-bet with 5 6s in such early position? Maybe not. So actually it hits him not that bad. He bets half pot. He could still have a lot of bluffs like clubs or 7 8. I call. With a 10, could be seen as a scare card if I had sevens or 6 7, so he could definitely bet that as a bluff. With also he could have backdoor hearts. In general, my queens are actually ideal for this spot because I have neither clubs nor hearts and don't block any of the draws. And then he decides to jam another 100 big blinds on the river. Now, the better your opponent is, the more reasonable it is to call because just so many draws miss. Also, ace king misses, ace deuce. So maybe it would be nice to have an ace like ace 10 of clubs, of course, or no, but it's difficult. Ace 6 maybe would be a pretty good. It blocks the aces at least. Um, but on the other hand, I don't block any of the ace x combos with queen, so it's actually one of the ideal overpair calling hands. Unfortunately, people are under bluff, so he has a lot of aces and kings. And in my calling range, I do have pocket tens, but maybe not much more. Maybe I sometimes have 7 8, but he can also have 7 8, so it's not the absolute best river, but it's still better than a heart or club. So I decided to call, and he has 1 pip better at kings. Very thin value bet, but very well done. With jacks, I would call here too. Um, Here as a population, even though probably I should fold the river at these stakes because people 3-barrel too little. Okay, there's a nice hand. I squeeze tens and get 2 callers, and I have ace queen and king queen, so I can c-bet here. And I also don't want any overcards to show, so with pocket aces, kings, I might check, but not with tens. So I don't want to see a jack, ace, or king. So I bet 1/3. I get a call. A call could be a queen, it could be ace high, maybe, although unlikely because he's 3-betting ace king and ace queen on the button. I still check. I could have an ace here. I would also check with an ace or ace queen because I kind of outflop everything. And then the third queen comes, which drastically reduces his queens. He would bet a lot of queens anyway. And then ace queen, he's now got even less. Pocket threes is counterfeited. So he has some, and he can't have a 3x with a kind of a flush draw, so ace 3 or something, because he would have not had a flush draw on the flop. Maybe ace 3 of spades actually, but it's very few hands with an ace he has. So I decide to value bet, trying to get value from 9s, 8s, 7s, and I even do a half pot because it does look a little bluffy, and he does not probably think that I do this with 10s, jacks, kings, and somehow doesn't put me on an ace for whatever reason. And indeed, I get the call from as poor as 5s, which is great. He's probably thinking on the river that he just needs to be right 1 in 4 times. I would, with a bluff, I would bet far higher, like 12 or something. Okay, I call the small blind open with 5s. I check behind the flop. I could bet small. Then he checks. This makes him very likely to be on a 3, maybe pocket 4s. Sometimes pocket 6s and 7s, of course. Pocket deuce is also possible. He calls. He could also have, of course, the flush draw with a king or ace, thinking he has enough showdown value to check. And here, actually, I decide to bet again with about 2/3 pot because he probably thinks that on the flop I would bet an 8. So then it looks very much like a bluff to him, like miss flush draw. So he could have just ace king high, for instance. I still beat that. That's 16 combos. That's a lot more than 6s and 7s, which is just 12 combos together. So therefore I can do that, I think. and I get the call from ace jack, which is another 16 combo. So this shows it's a very thin but I think very profitable value bet. Okay, hope you enjoyed today's video. Cheers.